Do you ever get stuck when trying to simplify fractions? Or wonder how a half can feel the same as 2/4? Equivalent fractions are a fundamental concept in maths, but they can feel like a puzzle. This video will demystify the entire process, giving you the clarity and confidence to master equivalent fractions once and for all. So what is an equivalent fraction? It is when two different fractions are exactly the same. For example, 1/3 and 2/6. It is when you split a whole into different numbers of sections, but you still have the same total amount. One way to understand equivalent fractions is by using a diagram. Let's ask this question: how many eighths are equivalent to 2/4? First, let's draw two circles. I'm going to split one into quarters and one into eighths. Now, let's shade 2/4. Can you make the eighths look the same? You need to shade in 4 sections to colour in the same amount. Therefore, 2/4 is equal to 4/8. Another method to master equivalent fractions is to use a fraction wall. Each horizontal bar represents a whole, and then you split that into different amounts. So the first bar you had a whole, the second bar you split it into 2, giving you halves. The third bar, 3, giving you thirds. The fourth bar, 4, giving you quarters, and so on and so on and so on. So using this, how many quarters are equal to a half? First, we shade in one of the half boxes. Then you look at the quarters row. How many do you need to colour to make it the same amount? 2. You can see here the half has the same amount of colour as 2/4. Therefore, 1/2 is equal to 2/4. You may think that all sounds really easy, but how would you do harder fractions? Ones that you couldn't draw diagrams for? We had 2/4 equals 4/8. To go from 4 to 8, you do 4 times 2. So you're splitting the whole into 2 times as many sections. As you have 2 times as many sections, you need to colour 2 times as many in. We can see that as 2 times 2 equals 4. So whatever you do to the denominator, here we do 4 times 2. You have to do exactly the same to the numerator, 2 times 2, or vice versa. You can start with the numerator and then go to the denominator. You always need to maintain the same proportion. So, for example, to go from 2/6 to 1/3, 2 divided by 2 equals 1, so you're colouring in half as many sections. Therefore, you need to split this shape into half as many sections. So 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. Again, you're doing the same to the numerator as you do to the denominator. So can you do 2/6 is equal to something over 36? To go from 6 to 36, you multiply by 6. As you're multiplying the denominator by 6, to keep it equal, you also need to multiply the numerator by 6. 2 times 6 equals 12. Therefore, 2/6 is equal to 12 over 36. And let's do some division now. 12 over 18 is equal to 4 over what? 12 divided by 3 is equal to 4. So you need to divide the denominator by 3 too. 18 divided by 3 is equal to 6. So 12 over 18 is equal to 4 over 6. Easy, right? When you work with fractions, you often want them in their simplest form. This happens when you can no longer divide the numerator and the denominator by the same amount anymore. Why? If the numbers get too big, they can be confusing and hard to work with. If you simplify fractions, however, they are easier to understand, use and compare. You can visualise a quarter, but it is way harder to visualise 583 over 2,332. To simplify a fraction, all you need to do is keep dividing the numerator and the denominator by the same amount until you no longer can. To simplify 45 over 60, I would start by dividing both the numerator and the denominator by 5. So 45 divided by 5 is 9, 60 divided by 5 is 12. And we know that that's an equivalent fraction because we're doing the same thing to the numerator as we're doing to the denominator, so the ratio is still constant. But 9 over 12 isn't in its simplest form yet. You can divide them both by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. Is that in its simplest form? Yes. Therefore, we know that 45 over 60 is equal to 3/4. Can you let me know how you now find equivalent fractions? I bet you it's a lot easier. If this helped to make maths make sense, please like and subscribe and click the notification button to be the first to see more videos.